Welcome to PhD with Women on It, Hack the Future. My name is Beata Young, and today's PhD Positivity Hack delivered will be by Rosa Armesto Plaja. Topic: How can women on it grow a career in finance? Episode 59 starts here. Let me remind you, this is a grassroots community that focuses on women on it, an inclusive forum of women in technology, startups, and female leaders who are supported by men as well. And I bring heart to that hustle because empathy is my mojo. And empathy is critical when you are growing a career in finance. Before we start to talk about this topic, let me mention a few highlights. Congratulations to Tiffany Faison for winning Season 3 of Food Network's Tournament of Champions, a culinary tournament of the US most celebrated chefs. It's always great to see female chefs hacking the kitchen and the future. Congratulations to Neka Agudolu on becoming UK's 6th Black Female Queen's Counsel. Her life lesson quote is truly inspiring. See the possibilities beyond any obstacles. It's great to see Danupa Mili Kantankhalkul, I hope I spelled it right, perform at Coachella Valley Music and Arts Festival 2022. She's the first Thai to do so. You go, girl. The female founder behind the dating app making market history Bumble, Whitney Wolfe-Herd, is indeed an inspiration. Even after being forced to leave Tinder and threatened for death and rape, she still strives and encourages women to make the first move, whether it's dating app, whether it is business. Bumble made history in the dating world for its female-focused algorithm that defies traditional gender norms and puts women in position of power. Bumble's IPO valuation reached 14 billion. In founders' own words, throughout the journey of building Bumble, we were told that it was impossible to create a successful woman-first brand and platform. That women don't want and shouldn't speak first, that it would never work. Those objections have only fueled us. 6 years and countless Bumble weddings, babies, friendships, business partnerships, and meaningful relationships later, we have a diverse and fast-growing community spread across 6 continents. We've celebrated 1.7 billion first moves made by women. As Wolfe also writes in her letter attached to the IPO, the importance of a woman making the first move is exclusive to the world of dating, romance, or love. It is a power shift, giving women confidence and control. We are committed to the major opportunity ahead of us to make dating healthier and more equitable around the world. From a total of 442 companies that went public last year, only 4 had female founders or CEOs. Today's Whitney is known as the youngest self-made woman in history to become a billionaire. Let's go from IPO into how can women on it grow a career in finance. Women are underrepresented in the tech industry, and not only in tech industry. Likewise, female representation declines in the finance industry. Having a reputation of being male-dominated, both fields are tough places for women to ascend to the top. In the evolving digital economy, financial institutions are entering the market. Women are paving the path in the financial technology industry, serving on boards as well as contributing to management teams. And we have a unique opportunity to speak to our guest, Ms. Rosa Armesto Plaja, who is the Deputy Director General of the Federation of European Securities Exchanges, responsible for coordinating all regulatory policy campaigns and strengthening FESE's positioning on the key issues and priorities for exchanges in Europe. Rosa has almost 15 years of professional experience in EU affairs for the financial sector. She was head of public and regulatory affairs of FESE, and prior to joining FESE, she spent 4 years as a member of the management team and head of public affairs and communications of Insurance Europe, in charge of the interest representation of the European insurance sector. She has worked in Brussels since 2007, coming from Eurostat in Luxembourg. Rosa holds a master's degree in economics, major in econometrics, a bachelor's degree in statistics, and a professional degree in piano. She's a Spanish national and speaks English, French, and Spanish. Rosa, where in the world are you today?
First of all, Beata, let me thank you very much for this introduction, and I'm really pleased to be on the show today. So hello to everyone who's joined us this evening. And I'm joining from Brussels today, where we enjoy a really nice spring day.
That's great to see that Brussels is finally out of the winter gloom and doom, and we are going to bring some positivity from Brussels and talk about the career that women on it can make in finance industry. So let's start from the beginning, because there is a little bit of art in your word, and what pushed you into this financial opportunity?
I must say that in terms of my career, nothing was really I didn't plan step by step or had a very rigorous execution planning. It was more about opportunities and being probably in the right place at the right moment. But first of all, obviously, I came into finance due to my education, mainly, my studies in economics and the master's I got there kind of opened me the way to get there. But I think the combination also with the statistics and the fact of coming from Eurostat made it kind of appealing for a job offer that at the time I found in FESE. So to be really honest, when I joined FESE, I did not really have much clue, I would say, on finance or whether I had developed a strong wish wanted to join that sector. But I really was very curious about the job description I was offered, about joining that team at the moment, etc. So that kind of opened me the door. And then obviously, little by little, surely but slowly, I got into the very passionate world of finance, and I in which I have been up until today. So I would really say that I have developed my entire career into this field.
So how did you start in Eurostat?
So basically, when I finished my studies, and in fact, I finished them through an Erasmus program in the Netherlands, I really wanted to continue exploring the fact of living abroad, working abroad if possible. At the time, I finished the studies, I came back to Spain, and I started my career professionally. And I was working first in a company in Madrid, in a multinational media agency. And in there, I was really doing data analysis. So I must say that somehow all my career since the very, very beginning has been very much linked to the studies I achieved. And what happened is that I really, really wanted to, as I said, to go out again, to try to kind of explore life abroad. So I had applied to several internships in the different agencies, European bodies, but also beyond. I remember OECD, etc. And just the European Commission, took my application on the Blue Book program. It's something that is still going on today. And by the way, very much recommend I take the opportunity also to mention that here. And of course, what happened there is that due to my profiling, which I combine studies and the Bachelor on statistics, and then the studies I did afterwards on economics, and then the specialization in econometrics, made it kind of quite obvious, I suppose, to be joining the statistical office of the European Union. So I enjoyed 6 months of internship in there. I must say I learned a lot. not only about, I mean, the things that I was doing in the department I was with, I was just supporting them. But what I really learned and opened a lot my eyes was the functioning of the European Union. And this is what somehow kind of attracted me at the time and made me continue the path of EU affairs.
Well, it's really useful to know about this Blue Book application program, but also it's interesting to hear that you were not afraid to take on an internship. How old were you when you started the internship?
In fact, that's a very good question, Beata, because when I took that internship, I already had a permanent contract in that multinational in Karat. So it is true that I kind of took probably, according to some people, maybe a step backwards. I was not thinking that myself. That's why I did it. But yeah, it's true that it was a bit of a move. And if I recall correctly, because as I did two university degrees, I think I probably was about 27 years old, something like that. 27. Yeah, I think I was 27, 28. Now I don't remember exactly, but I think it was that.
Yeah, well, it's very interesting because you were not afraid to lose this, let's call it, already progressing career and move into the world of opportunity, but also unknown, because when you're doing an internship, I guess you're not really paid fully, right? What was the perks of doing internship within the Blue Book program?
Yeah, well, I must say I was lucky in the sense that precisely this program financially is quite, I would say, decent in the sense of allowing people at a young age to somehow even live by yourself. So I really think it's something that I was very pleased to learn, that the income you get allows you, to sustain by yourself. But it is true that not all the internships are like that. And in fact, I mean, to me, really was the door that opened really the path to the European Union. Also, I think even as I say, currently. All those people that have done this Blue Book program, it's a bit of a badge of honor, if I may say it, okay? Because you need to take into account that people from today will be the 27 member states are applying to this internship. So we are talking about thousands and thousands of people, but only some are selected, obviously not all. So already making it is a success, and I was really pleased. I very much remember that day when I was contacted that I had been accepted. I was really, really happy. And even though I was also very grateful to the work I had in my current job at the time, as I said, I had no doubts to really go for it, because I really thought that was going to be something that probably will help him. And if not, then I will see what to do. And in fact, this is what happened, because it is true that once you finish your internship, it's very clear that you cannot really get a job in an institution. They have quite very clear and transparent rules in this regard, and in fact, we were all the people that we were doing the internship at the same time, looking for jobs at the same, all together. So it gets a bit stressful as well. But it is true that the fact of having passed through the European Commission also helps in finding a job. So at that moment, I will say, I think we are also in a very similar moment in the regard of job offers right now, because I really think that now the market is moving a lot. But at the time that was instant in my life, it was not that difficult to find a job in European affairs.
What about now? I mean, you've spent how many years doing the things you're doing, and how was your progress within FESE happening for you?
Yeah, so in fact, time flies, because I was counting the other day. It was my anniversary in Brussels, just this month of April, 15 years. Wow. That I have been here, which is, a long way. So, well, basically what happened is that I finished my internship in Luxembourg, and well, I just wanted to give a try to see whether I could continue, in the European field, in the, continuing, building up. So I applied to several places, job offers, both in Luxembourg and in Brussels. And I remember at the time, I didn't know Brussels at all. I had come, I think, one weekend just as tourism, and well, but we all knew in that internship that there were all these European federations and all the things that are happening around here, and there were job offers, and in fact, well, FESE at that moment was looking for a junior economist, but precisely to run the Statistics and Economics Committee, Economics and Statistics Committee, this is how we call it. So I really think I had the profile. I applied. I had very good interviews with my colleagues at the time, and then they decided to take me for a year contract. So it was very clear from the start. It was a limited contract because they had a project. So the person that was doing that had to kind of dedicate more time. They needed support. And then basically one thing, after the next, and what happened is that after that year, we were both parties very happy. It happened that it was possible for me to stay, and then I stayed. And in fact, that first period brought me up to 8 years with FESE.
So the first 1 year contract and then 8-year contract, is that correct?
Well, I would say unlimited contract I stayed with them for 8 years in total. Then I reached the moment in which, I thought, okay, it might be time to change. And I think it was something, again, very useful to do, the change of jobs, again, to kind of go out of your area of comfort, try, to face a new way of working. And in my case, it was also a new sector within the financial sector. So I joined the insurance area, and it was a very enriching experience for me, because that really kind of opened me again, loads of, opportunities, things I learned, ways of working, but also the very real management experience at this time. So this was something very, very useful. And then, well, after a period of time, I had like kind of a second batch within FESE. So I just got a call from them telling me that they had opened the position I am holding today, and they wanted to know whether I was interested to come back. And after some deliberations, I decided to go back. And some of my friends were saying like, "Oh, you are back to first love." So in a way, it was a bit of a joke, because I will say it's not very common to be back into a company you've been with. But okay, in my case, it worked out very well. Obviously, I've always left very good memories and relations in everywhere I have been. So it has worked out like that.
As we say in a relationship, you never go back to the same waters. You decided to do so. You always leave the door open. And I wanted to ask you, how did you prepare for all these stages? Did you read something before the interview, or was it just like, I know everything because I've been in the industry for so many years? What's the process of Rosa applying for a position?
Well, the way I follow, I will say, is obviously you need to prepare. And I think that almost everyone will agree with that. I mean, I don't really, I believe in the prepare improvisation, so to say, right? So obviously you need to think through, you need to also analyze what you are looking for, what you want to offer, what you want to highlight. And in that sense, I prepare a lot, I will say, from a kind of personal point of view in terms of soft skills. Obviously, what happens is that I was, for instance, when I moved from the exchange industry to the insurance industry, was a completely, new field. So even though you think, okay, it's finance, yes, it is finance, but, not many things are in common. So what I had, I would say, transportable was the fact that I have always been working on European affairs, on advocacy, and I know Brussels quite well by now. But when it comes to the content, that is something that I had to learn. And what I did is I played with honesty, right? I mean, saying, look, I think you in these different positions I have been, I understand that they were looking more for a European affairs profile. This is what I can bring, preparing certain skills and explaining. But when it comes to content, I really had to kind of build it up from the ground. So, of course, this requires a lot of intellectual effort and requires, moments of, discomfort, in the sense of, okay, not knowing, not really understanding from the beginning. But I really, really think it helps a lot, because only by experiencing things and by pushing yourself, I really think is how you really grow. So then when I got the opportunity to be the Deputy Director General of FESE, I felt that all the path I had been doing up until then helped me a lot to kind of feel the shoes there.
To fill the shoes and also feel confident to apply for whatever opportunity might bring. We have a couple of questions in the meantime. Before I read them aloud, what is your, dear audience, way of preparing for interview? Share with us. Tell us, how do you prepare and how you are preparing yourself to hack the future? We've got a great comment from IPOVIT. In Patrick's opinion, somebody we know dearly on this show, Patrick Young is my husband privately, but also he was the host of Rosa's previous appearance on IPOVIT. Perfect PhD, the incredible, brilliant Rosa Armesto Plaja, speaking with the incredible, brilliant Beata Young. Thank you so much, Patrick, for watching us. I hope you bring us challenging questions. Agata, hi, Rosa, great to see you on a PhD. How much did playing the piano to a professional standard help with your career? That's tricky.
That's a very good question. Thanks a lot, Agata. I must say it helped me a lot. And why? It's because all the discipline I learned when I was younger. So obviously, when I'm doing these studies of music, what I got with me is the pleasure of the music. It's something I enjoy a lot as a hobby. I am very enriched and fulfilled by that. But what really helped me in terms of career, really, as I said, is the discipline and the fact of, not listening too much to yourself when you, of course, go through difficult moments, you go through doubts, you go through distraction, even laziness that I think is inherent to humans, right? I think that helped me to say, no, that's the way I need to do it. Just get on with it, get it done, and move on. And this is something that really gets very deep in my profile. And why is that? It's because I did all these studies of piano in parallel to my current or kind of ordinary studies, meaning that not only, my secondary school and up until getting into the university, but also the first years of university. And in fact, in there, I was kind of overlapping the toughest years of piano, which are obviously always the last ones, where you really need to dedicate a lot, but in parallel with my studies in university. So I just need to kind of combine the two. Had to do it, I will say. I mean, of course, I had I was tempted sometimes, to drop it. But no, I really decided, also with the push of my parents, to finish it. And in the end, this discipline, this is what helped me to drive things forward.
Discipline, hard work, practice makes perfect. Let's go on to a deeper question from Agata. I would like to play on it, and I would like to ask, who was your inspiration in piano?
Well, I must say, I probably am going to disappoint with this answer. No, I didn't have any specific inspiration in terms of a musician or someone I admire in particular. It was really something that came when I was a child, that in fact my mother was really, really keen that I at least initiated the studies of music. And then what happens is that, time passes and well, I was doing okay in these studies. I also I need to be honest, in the conservatory, I met very good friends, at a time and an age that, when friends are good, you are very, very close to them. So, I really had my parallel school life with the conservatory. And in the end, I reached a moment in which, I was like kind of, look, probably I will not, dedicate my career into music. However, it will be a pity, and this is what my mother was telling me, it will be a pity to stop now, having done all the work and made all the efforts I had been doing, the years before. So it was more of a kind of inertia of continuing, for, trying to achieve the completion of the studies rather than getting inspired or anything. I mean, in fact, if I'm very honest, when I finished, I said, okay, this is now done, for a while. But then I am replicating the same with my son. So I am inviting him to follow also music lessons, because I really think that brings you loads of tools. I mean, it's very logic as well in terms of the way you learn how to think and how to, to confront things in life.
Practice makes perfect, and also we are happy to hear that your son is following your steps, because Rosa is definitely a role model we can model our life on. We have got lovely comment from Jamil. Jamil Navarrosa says, good to see Rosa again. Hello from IPOV to Woman on It. Hello, Jamil. Lovely to see you. We've got aspirant who sends lots of love, whatever aspirant is doing here. And we've got in love and in pain. Hi, Beata and Rosa. Another interesting topic, smiley face. Do you need to be a risk taker to work in the finance world? Gracias. Smiley face.
Yeah, that's also a very interesting question, because indeed finance is always linked to risk takers, right? I mean, if we think about the bull and the bear, you think, okay, we need to kind of have maybe, a determined profile to that. I really think there are many different ways to work in finance. So not precisely you need to be a risk taker very concretely. However, it is true that you need to be focused and empower yourself, I think, in this field, in the sense that there is very high competition. Things are moving really fast in terms of technology, and we can see, and even now through the pandemic, things have, speed up a lot in terms of what is now out in the market, how digital we have all become, the banks, etc. So I really think that you kind of need to be awake. It's a sector in which, you need to be awake. You need to always be reading and educating yourself on what is happening and what is coming up, because otherwise you lose track of it. So broadly speaking, I would say it's more that than anything else. Obviously, if then you decide to take for instance, the career of trader, etc., then probably, yes, you will have to develop some sort of skills that might be going along the lines of how to take risk and how to move around. But otherwise, I think more to, as I said, is to be, empowered and to really know where you want to go and really be very curious. I think curiosity is something that I find very important in this sector.
Curiosity, focus, but there are definitely some things that are frustrating as well. Some things that you have no power over, right? How are you dealing with your frustration? What is frustrating you the most?
Oh, well, I really try not to be frustrated. So this is something I am practicing and I am learning from. But well, when this feeling arrives, because of course this is again one feeling, close to humans, what I really try is to take a step back, try to breathe and try to think rational, because I also think that, frustration, after all, is quite linked to emotions. So I think that the trigger comes from something that you are feeling about, and also about the reading you are giving to a certain scenario or certain event that has happened to you. So I really try consciously to, think calmly and try to analyze. And then there are things that you then kind of see, okay, it was not as important as, I thought at the moment. Or there are things that you just say, okay, I just need to accept and move on. So I really think it's about analysis. And I am quite, focused on self-assessment on this type of situations, and really try to keep as balanced as possible. So I really try not to get into frustration if possible.
So, as an analytical thinker, you definitely got the power of not letting your emotions take over you. We have got a comment from Patrick. Have you had any particular role models in your career, male or female?
That's indeed a great question. I really think that, yes, of course, I did have role models. And in fact, there are several people that had really impacted me through my career along the way. And I really feel I have been very privileged to get support and to learn from a great and visionary, both men and women. So I think that when you go through life, with your eyes open, and you really pay attention, and you kind of, look at what's going on, you come across many inspiring situations and people. And I really think that applies both to your private, but also your professional environment. So I really think that, all these kind of models that I have seen brave, I have seen determined people, but also people that have taught me to take sensible risks and to really push myself, are the people I very much admire. And I have been very lucky because I had a few that I enjoy the company.
Nobody in particular to mention at this stage?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't like to name and shame, so to say, but okay, if someone does a little bit of research, well, I have been very lucky with my bosses, very, very lucky. I mean, I really encounter people that really, make me blossom in a way. So, I mean, in fact, I can think of the three key bosses I have had here in Brussels. And I mean, the three, 2 women and 1 man, have really helped me the way through. But probably the person that probably impacted me the most was my first boss that I had here in Brussels, the one that hired me, the one kind of that opened me the door in FESE, which was Judith Hart. So it's a one that you also know very well, Beata. And I remember I was very young, I had loads to learn. And, her passion, her, also fun way of looking at things and dedication. So the very hard work side of the person as well kind of really opened me and inspired me a lot. Yeah.
Well, David Hart, thank you so much for bringing Rosa to this stage, and we are happy to follow her steps, and not only us, because we can hear that Marianne is sharing. My nephew will definitely follow your steps also. Time to enroll him in piano class, Marianne says in her comment. That's very kind, Marianne. I hope he's going to succeed and not give up, because it's quite challenging, right? When you putting your fingers and the tones not always come through as we were imagining. I can tell that because I used to play violin, and the first time I was 7 years old, I had to wait a year before I got that instrument into my hands. And the first time I started playing, not only it was out of tune, but the sound was nothing like what I heard over the radio. So That's definitely something to be admired for doing and continuing for so many years, Rosa. Well done. Right, let's go into Olga's comment. Great show, Beata, as always. Rosa, when you are in meetings in Brussels, how good overall is the diversity between men and women?
Well, I would say that probably, easy to guess. The gender diversity, I understand that it's about that, no? The question is not as great as I would like it to be, in the sense that, in society, we are 50% against 50%, broadly speaking. This is not represented like that. However, I think we can be positive about it because things are changing and there are more and more women coming in place. And I really think this is something that we should not forget. I mean, it's important, obviously, to push, that there are more and more, I even would say regulation, in that sense. So, for instance, there has been a lot debated the quotas here in the European Commission. And for instance, the public sector is applying it quite forcefully. Maybe the private sector lags a little bit behind. But well, I think we are getting there, probably better to, it will be hopefully in some years' time. But I really think that anything as well that any of us as female roles we can do, to empower younger professionals and to really trying to inspire people, I think is very much welcome. So I also think that we need to take an active role, all of us, that we are there to as well try to help and facilitate for that. But well, so far we are not yet there. So in terms of diversity.
And another question built on that diversity issue. We've heard the word diversity, but I would like to talk about diversity of thought. Have you had any issues with explaining something that was quite obvious to you, but everybody else in the room thought quite the opposite?
Well, I will say that no, I have not encountered that situation in the sense that, well, I think that if I try to explain something and no one was speaking up, I really think that probably it's because I was not really explaining myself, right? I don't think it has to do with the diversity of ways of thinking or approaching. It is true that sometimes being a woman, you need to push yourself more than a man. That is, this is something that I have seen and I have experienced. But this is why it is very important that we do not doubt about ourselves. And when you really think you have something to say, you just try to make a space and say it. So I really think we need to also practice that. And in fact, I really think that, for instance, in terms of skills, right, that, that people should have, to drive their careers, I really think that most of the skills, I consider them gender neutral, right? In terms of, for instance, communication skills, ethics, leadership. But it is true that there are two skills that I think are a little bit more female in a way, which one is assertiveness, the quality of being self-assured and confident without being aggressive. And the other one will be the empathy. I do think that this is something that is now being put in value more and more. And I also think that this is something that comes a little bit more natural in women than in men. But as I say, I'll talk obviously very generally here. You can always find good, qualities in these aspects that are, combined in a men profile. So it's not that, I'm not talking about any concrete person that I have in mind. It's more, in general. But I really think that, yeah, that's how I will see that that situation. I cannot hear you, Beata, now.
Yes, that's true because I muted myself. Apologies for that. Right, back in control room, I would like to say that I'm delighted to hear that finance industry is welcoming women and there is more opportunities for us waiting for us. I wanted to ask you about your career now and what is any, if any, exciting project that you're working at the moment.
Yeah, so yes, I am. And I think this is something I discussed at length with Patrick a few months ago. We are now currently going through the MiFIR review. This is a very important and masterpiece of legislations for my sector, for the exchange sector. And currently, we are in the middle of the negotiations from both co-legislators. So not only the European Council, but also the Parliament. And what we are doing, of course, is now trying really to understand the different positions of the member states, trying also to, well, we are in fact awaiting for the draft report from the rapporteur in the Econ committee. But in the course of this happening, we are also, pulling together our members to form positions, to adapt our positions, depending on what's being discussed, because, everything comes from the proposal that we got from the European Commission, but things are very dynamic. So we are really, trying to move fast in trying to fit that. And not only this, because as we are now in the second half of this Commission's mandate, and obviously they really have a big ambition to get done many things before they go into elections in 2024, there are other things going on. So, for instance, it's quite active, the listing side as well of my sector, the retail side as well. There will be a proposal in a few months to come. So we are really busy with that. But, okay, what takes my time really, I would say more kind of broadly, is this MiFIR review, consolidated tape, and all the things that, we discussed with Patrick back in December.
Right, it's quite a lot to manage various projects. And so my question is, how do you keep yourself focused?
Well, for that, I think the answer is quite direct, and it's just that I very much enjoy a fantastic team. So I think, obviously, without the team, we couldn't really get things done as we do. And then what I really try to do as a manager is I really try to push people. I mean, once I see that they are, solid enough or kind of ready enough to do things by themselves, I really try to push them to take responsibility and to take calculated risks, because I really think that this is really the way to grow by experiencing. You really need to sometimes be faced on certain things to then be able to drive. And in fact, this is something that I am very grateful to the bosses I have had up until now. They really operated like that with me. And this is also what really helped me, to push myself and to be able to learn and to get things.
As you wrote to me, during my career, I have benefited from many mentors, and I felt particularly inspired and encouraged by the people who taught me to take sensible risks and tackle problems, and not to shy away from pursuing good ideas just because you might encounter obstacles along the way. Truly inspiring. Rosa, we have got comments from Patrick, Judith Hart. When is she coming to our PhD? Well, I hope you're going to pass on some contact details. I would be happy to invite another role model to our show. Patrick also says, fair point on assertiveness and particularly empathy. Rosa, as a general rule for women and men. Definitely empathy is the future, and we talked about empathy economy and the future of work and leadership with Dr. Jackie Taylor just last year in September. So, Rosa, we are heading towards the end of our show. I wanted to ask you about the book that you think would help your career if you read it sooner.
Well, I must say that I have a book in mind that I read some years ago, but I was, and I'm going to tell you in a second. But I think that there are many things out there that can help, and I have been reading some of them, about psychology, behaviorism, even feminism as well. No, how to feel equal. And that has been very useful through my career journey. And I wish that some of these things I would have read them a little bit earlier, but okay, it's never late if it comes. But one book I would like to signal is Who Moved My Cheese? From Spencer Johnson. I don't know if some people in the audience know that book, or you, Beata, but if not,
No,
I
not at
fully
all.
recommend it. Okay, it's a very short and sweet book that it is about change and how you approach change. And I am firm believer that change is the only constant. I mean, and if you ask me for a quote of life, that will be my quote. And this is what I really, keep you moving, keeps you engaging with new things, and also being able to, to know when it's time, to go out of your area of comfort, be it a change of jobs, but also be it a change of responsibilities within your job, or trying to go into new fields within the same company. So this is a book that, in fact, tells the story of two mice that obviously they found a cheese. They are very happy, but this cheese moves on. So then they need to try to see how to approach the looking for the cheese, because obviously without cheese they cannot eat and they cannot survive. And you really see two ways of approaching life. And in fact, what this book shows is that all beliefs do not lead you to new cheese. So if you really want to get something, you really need to kind of, be open and be, embracing, new things. And then you discover for yourself how to deal with the change. And in fact, the more you discover that, I think that allows you to enjoy less stress and more success in your work and in your life, because obviously it's about practicing. So I also think it's very good for the well balance of the person.
Olga Vasina says, fabulous book. I loved Who Moved My Cheese. Great to hear, Olga, that you read it. I didn't read it, but I can think of a a book idea, because I know somebody who loves ice cream, and I would actually make it Who Moved My Ice Cream, because that would be definitely motivation for this hermit to go out of her comfort zone. Marianne, greetings to you. Now, Rosa, you mentioned also that contrary to all the usual paths, your career is not the result of a careful design and a rigorous execution, but many of the changes have been the result of curiosity, willingness to do new things, and making the most of the opportunities that crossed your path. That's definitely following your cheese wherever it goes. Rosa, I wanted to ask you our favorite question. Imagine the pandemic is over and you could have private breakfast with any person in the world, anywhere in the world. Who would you choose and where would you go to?
Okay, so here I will have I have one person in mind that I will choose Michelle Obama. I am very much inspired by her biography. I mean, not only what we know about being the former, First Lady of the United States, but also, how she built up the career coming from a not super wealthy family, but made it into the best universities. Then how also she approached her career. I mean, I don't know if the audience knows that, but she was the boss of Barack Obama at the time, and then how she also adapted and helped so much in the shadow, to get her husband at into the position. So I really think that for me is a very kind of inspiring person. I think she has still a lot to show to us. And I would really love to have breakfast. Where about? Well, I think I will let her choose. Probably she's busier than me. I wouldn't mind to go to the United States for that. But yeah, that will be a person I very much like, to at least, to listen to in a live setup.
And if Michelle said, well, I'll let you choose, which place would you choose?
Well, honestly, if she lets me choose, I will probably take her to Brussels, So like that, I benefit from her coming here, understanding how, European Union works, and probably I will also be able to, to pull a few people with me that I'm sure they will be also very happy. But yeah, I will invite her here.
So is that a correct way of thinking? You believe if it wasn't for Michelle, we wouldn't have Obama as president?
Well, I wouldn't, be categoric about it. But what I really, really think is that without her, it would have been very different. Yeah. And in fact, I also think this is reversing, not only, the fact is that obviously in that case, it was a man that made it, right? But I also think that always, or in many cases, there is someone next to us, helping, like we can also be helping others. So I really think it's about collaboration. And indeed, without Michelle, probably Barack would have been different.
Absolutely. It's also about finding the right people on your path. So, Rosa, we've got comment from Marianne who said, definitely, Beata will wait for Who Moved My Ice Cream book. Thank you very much. I've got somebody signed up for my pre-publishing version. It's excellent. I wanted to ask you, Rosa, we talked about your path, how you made it, what you believe is the right way to approach the career in finance. What is your number one advice for whoever would like to consider a career in finance, whether male or female? We are talking diversity.
Yeah, true. So I really think that what it is very important is to see yourself as equal, And now here we are talking about, the gender diversity. It is very important to think that, okay, if others can do it, I could also do it. So have that kind of mindset very clear in your mind. Believe in you. I think is also very important, be focused, and okay, think very carefully on what you want and, not doubt too much. And the last thing I think is super important is that you need to work hard. I think that, maybe a few people, get things very easily or, whatever. But I really think that the mindset of hard working is something that it is very important if you want to do definitely a career in finance, but probably I will think that in any other field, So I think it's about, confidence, but balance confidence, because I think too much is not good. So balance confidence, and hard working capacity.
Having that mindset helps. Rosa, thank you so much. I wanted to also ask you about your life lesson quote. How did it change you in your career path, or whether it was in piano lessons or your rehearsals? What is your favorite life lesson quote?
Well, I have the one I already mentioned is that the change is the only constant. I really think that to me, this has been the most revealing one, because sometimes, we think that things are forever and they are not. And not only that, things are, changing. And in fact, our world is evolving thanks to great ideas and innovation. And this means change. So I really think that it is very important to know that, not only things, also people around you, teams are changing, and it is very important to be able to adapt and to be positive about change, because otherwise, I mean, staying there. And in fact, the book I recommended is also linked a lot into this life lesson quote. You know, you really need to kind of be pushed by something, and I really think this is the adaptation to new things, to curiosity, that I hope that comes with me until the end.
Beautiful quotation to finish off our show. I have another quotation. We need women of all levels, including the top, to change the dynamic, reshape the conversation, to make sure women's voices are heard and heeded, not overlooked and ignored. That's Sheryl Sandberg speaking to us. Rosa, thank you so much for joining our show. I would like to invite everyone to join our next week guest. Nikki Stewart is going to talk about how to find digital freedom, whether it's working in finance, whether it's working digitally or non-digitally. There is definitely a way to find your digital freedom, even if you're doing handwork. You can be on Etsy and many other platforms. We're going to talk about it next week. Rosa, thank you so much for joining us today. Tell people and they may forget, show them, they may remember, but involve them and they will understand. That's definitely the way that Rosa got her hands dirty and made sure that her hard work paid off. When you focus on positives, the positives get more positive. If you don't like something, change it. If you can't change it, change your attitude. We were talking about change. We were talking about growing by experiencing, seeing yourself as equal and having that mindset of you can do it. Thank you, everyone, especially those who were part of the show and made comments. Agata Bellon, IPO Vid, Patrick Young, Jamil Navarosa, aspirant in Love and in Pain, Marian Madera, and Olga Vasina. This is your day to hack the future, hack the positivity you want in European Union, in FESE, wherever in the world you are. Thank you. See you next week.